Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. Today we're going to talk about the party of toleration and how when they're done tolerating your shenanigans, they cannibalize you. They eat their own. Yes, they do. If you are paying attention to what's going on in the country, then you pretty much don't have to watch this show. So if you're subscribed to this channel, you can just go about your business for the day. For those people who have not been paying attention to what's going on in the country, maybe it's because you were born in the freest country in the world. You don't have to pay attention to things. You can do what you want. You can say what you want. You can live in your feelings. And when you don't agree with people, you can scream them down. Drown out their voice with your hard-won opinion. This show is for you. Because when they're done silencing everybody, they're going to cannibalize you too. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, we are pleased to announce on the homestead that we are not going to let injustices prevail. We are going to fight. We are 110%, 1,000%, 6,000%, 850 million, billion, bazillion percent riding with Joe Biden on this one. Yes, we are. We're riding with Joe Biden and his right to run for a second term in office. In 2020, President Biden was duly elected by the people, by the will of the people. They put that man in office. Then they wanted him to run a second term because he did such a great job. That's all you heard was what a wonderful job that President Biden did. We want him to run again. And we here on the homestead are 100 million, bazillion, gazillion percent supporting President Joe Biden 2024. Now I know some of y'all are getting ready to unsubscribe to my channel. That's okay. You can leave anytime you want. You're not seatbelted in. You are not a political prisoner. The door is open. Hit the unsubscribe button if you don't agree with me. Other people have already spilt their coffee on the floor because they're kind of shocked at what popped into my head, flew out my mouth, and they are totally surprised by what I had to say. And there are people clutching their pearls right now, waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, it is a hot and muggy day here in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border, in the crown of Maine. I hope you guys are having a nice, warm, sunny summer day. I hope you guys have a breeze at least wherever you are. If you're able to get outside, get some of that sunshine on your skin, soak up that vitamin D. Kick off your shoes, your sandals, your flip-flops. Take off the stinky work boots. You don't need to be in them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've worked in the elements in stinky work boots, and on my lunch breaks, I always took my stinky work boots off. Walk across the earth with your naked feet. It does wonders for the body. It actually decompresses you. It de-stresses you. It lifts the anxiety off of your shoulders. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's raining where you are, just go play in the mud puddles like you did when you were a kid. If anything, I promise you those beautiful, wonderful memories of childhood will come flooding back to you if it does nothing else, stomping in the mud puddles. Facts, fact checkers. There are physicians in Japan that literally write prescriptions to their patients to go outside into nature because it does a body good. It decompresses the mind, the body, and the soul. So in an era where we're coming up on being throttled, being censored, we're going back to misinformation and disinformation rules. I just have to get it out there that it is true science-y facts that cannot be disputed that nature does a body good. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I have been described as a liberal conservative with common sense, heavy on the liberal. And I've also been described as constitutional Kerri. Which one am I today? We are talking about living in the movie Wizard of Oz, and behind the screen, there are men and women pulling the levers. And people actually do not realize the mess that the Democratic Party is at this moment. And we here on Coffee with Kerri-Lynn, we are riding with Biden because it is a matter of voter rights. The voters' right to choose who they want to be president of the United States. If you remember way back when, this spring, during the Republican primaries, all the way back there, the great state of Maine, we fought hard because our Secretary of State, Shanna, whatever the hell her name is, Bellows, wanted to take former President Donald Trump off of the Maine ballot. We raised our voices in the state of Maine because no branch of government, no state, no federal government, no political party has the right to thwart the people's choice in voting the will of the people. And in the Democratic Party, the people spoke, and they want Joe Biden to run a second term. Who doesn't want Joe Biden to run a second term? Let's go back to the debate. Got to go back a couple weeks ago. Because Joe Biden was the man. He was the man. Right up until the debate. Before the debate, they whisked him to Camp David. Small recap for those of you who know what's going on in the world. So they whisked him off to Camp David so he could rest and prepare for the debate. Hop him up on goofballs. He came out on the stage. It was horrendous, to put it mildly. Trump wiped the floor with him. After the debate, he was whisked away to Camp David again to decompress. He had a bad night. He had a cold. There was a lot of excuses coming out. But before the end of the night, before the end of the debate, the newspapers, the legacy media was already calling for President Biden to step down, not only from the race of 2024, but from the presidency altogether. After you serve your purpose, they can cannibalize you. President Biden went back to Camp David. There were top Democrats in the country that were calling for his resignation, calling for him to step down from his leadership, calling for him to step off of the campaign trail. And then there were reports that he wasn't gonna. He was digging his heels in. Then there were reports that these same top Democrats decided he shouldn't. Then they pretty much hid the president until George Stephanopoulos' interview on July 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, President Joe Biden exclaimed very proudly that he was the first woman, black woman, vice president to serve under the first black president of the United States of America. Once again, all the support that he had drifted away. Take him off the ticket. What the Democratic Party is proposing now is an open convention, which simply means President Biden has dug his heels in because the people of the United States of America, the will of the people, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, asked him to run for a second term. He has dug his heels in because he wants to honor your request. He wants you to have your freedom of choice in your vote. But the bigwigs of the DNC would like to have the delegates vote to replace President Biden. Now, who are they going to replace President Biden with? Who knows? There's a lot of whispers happening in the political world in D.C. right now. There's a lot of games being played. There's a lot of deals being made. So let's make a deal in Washington, D.C. right now. There's a lot of things that may or may not be true coming out, such as Biden decided to play hardball with former President Obama and let him know, go ahead, try to replace me, and I'll leak some stuff out about your preference of partners because I have the proof. Who knows? We don't really know, do we? There are whispers that Mrs. Michelle Obama may be running. There are whispers that Gavin Newsom is favored. Of course, he's favored by his auntie, Nancy Pelosi. It's her way of capturing the ever-elusive presidency. We don't know. All we do know is they don't want Kamala Harris to be president. They don't want Joe Biden to be president. And by waiting until the DNC and having the delegates choose a different candidate makes former President Donald Trump's choice as a VP a blind choice. Because he's not playing with the full spectrum of the game. He does not know who he's going to be running against, let alone who another possible vice president might be. So President Trump needs to, on July 11th, during the Republican National Convention, he needs to announce his vice president in a very blind situation. Because that's the games people play. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Here on the homestead, we believe what's good for the goose is absolutely good for the gander. We believe because we spoke and the appeals courts listened, Donald Trump was not removed from the ballot in the state of Maine this spring, and therefore the people of Maine had their right to choose their vote in an election, not to have the government choose it for you, not to remove people that they don't like. The people of Maine had their voter choice kept intact. We believe that also at the federal level. It's good for the goose, ladies and gentlemen. At the federal level, especially in the executive branch, no party, no government, no entity should be removing a choice from the ballot that the people want to make. That, my friends, is communism, totalitarianism, that is fascism, that is all the isms, Marxism. It's all the isms that take us down a very dark and dangerous road. So we're going to fight for Joe Biden to stay on the ticket, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. We're going to fight long. We're going to fight hard to keep him there. The games people play are dirty. Just remember, if you are in support of the party of toleration, in the famous words of Stevie Nicks, players only love you when they're playing, baby. Carpe Diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.